Hello, thanks for joining me. I'm giving myself a little bit of a break from the mini pickup. Tonight I am, excuse me, tonight I am working on my 1964 Raleigh Runabout. I've got a little bit of paintwork to do on the side panels. To give you a bit of background, the side panels were actually missing when I bought the bike. So I've had to source some replacements which are nicely finished in primer, but they don't match the rest of it, and I do kind of want it to match, make it look a little bit less patchwork quilt. The problem that I've got is the rest of the paintwork on the bike isn't great, it isn't perfect, and I want to try and match that. I think it'd be an easier job to do a better job. I'm going to try and not do a better job to try and keep it in keeping with the rest of the bike. I'm not going to paint the bike. I decided that although it wouldn't be that hard to do a full resto on it really, there's not much to it. And don't get me wrong, I love a full resto as much as the next man. But on the other hand, they are only original ones, and I think the little Raleigh Runabout, I've called him Rupert the Raleigh Runabout. Rupert's got so much character that I think it would spoil it if we painted it. So I'm going to try and match the new side panels to the rest of the bike, which might be a bit of a challenge. But I've got a plan. So first we need to get them off. So let's get at it. Okay, I'll give you a little close-up. So these are obviously the side panels which keep your legs out of all the mechanism there. This is the finish that I'm going to try and replicate, which is the original white paint, but you can see it's breaking through to the primer underneath and there's a few rust spots. I want to try and make these match. I think if I made these perfect, it would look odd. So I'm going to try and make them not perfect. I'm going to try and replicate a bit of this. See how it goes, eh? You need to get them off. It's dead easy, just 3 little screws each side. Yeah, it's the right hand side. Right, it's the left hand side. You can actually see more of the mechanism here. Obviously we've got the barrel here, carburetor, teeny tiny air filter, all the gubbins that make it work. There's actually a belt from the engine to this front one, and then there's a chain each side as well. Don't ask me to explain exactly how it works, because I'll be honest, I don't really understand it myself. Some witchcraft happens and it moves. The other side, that front sprocket exposed. You can see one wire from the magneto which is inside here to give you your power for your coil and things like your lights, horn, etc. Very, very simple. There's nothing to it at all. So here we are. I'll talk you through a bit of my idea. These are already in primer. They're not too bad. There is a little bit of surface rust. These are original panels that have been treated and sanded down and painted. You can see there's a bit of pitting there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to prep these, I'm not going to sand it. They're not perfectly flat, they're not perfectly smooth. If I was going for a show winner, I'd have these flatted off, some more primer on them and get them absolutely perfect. But as I explained earlier, that's not what I'm shooting for with this bike. I want it to be in keeping with the rest of it, so I'm not going to prep these. I think them imperfections are actually going to help me achieve what I want to achieve. I'm going to give it a clean because they're a bit dusty, and then I'm going to use some red primer. Got it over here soaking in some hot water just because it's -3 outside at the minute. I'm going to hit it with red primer because there is red primer under the top coat on the bike. And then once I've done that, I've got some top coat here, which I have had specially mixed from this panel. This is actually on the back of the bike. It's like I would call it a tailpiece. It goes from the mudguard and holds the rear light and the rear number plate. I took this off. I've had it scanned by a local paint shop, and they've mixed a tin up for me. So that will be the right colour, because the bike's so old it's not easy finding the right colour. And with it being a scan of the actual panel, if this has been painted in the past, it'll take in consideration fading. That will transfer straight onto the new panels, so it should be a perfect match. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with red primer. Then when that's dry, I'm going to top coat it. Before the top coat's dry, I'm going to lightly touch, while it's still wet, a few areas just so the top coat breaks through to that red primer. So I have a little bit of red primer in a couple of areas poking through, just like the bike has. And then when it's all dry, I'm going to rub a little bit off with some wet and dry, just to create a couple of bare metal edges, just so that a little bit of rust creeps through. I know it sounds a bit mental, especially now I'm saying it out loud. I'm a bit mad, but I think it'll work. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just I'm winging it, but I think this is going to work. Let's give it a bash, yeah? Okay, then I've got these set up here. I've had the heater pointing at them. I've given them a wipe down. They're nice and clean. There's no dust on them. I've had the heater pointing at them, so they're a little bit warm. I've had my paint in some hot water, giving it a good thorough shaking. So I'm going to put my mask on and I'm going to give them a nice coat of red primer. Got a nice coat on there. There is going to be a few runs I can see already, but I'll be honest, I'm not bothered about that. That'll just add to the character more. Right, I'll give them some time to dry and then we'll get the top coat on. Alright then, they're dry now. It took a little bit longer than I expected. I had to leave them overnight. Well, I think it's just because it's so cold here at the minute. The workshop, even though I've only got a little heater, it's absolutely freezing. So I've just got the heater there, trying to warm them up a little bit before we do the top coat. I've got the paint here warming up in some hot water. So I'm going to give that a couple of minutes. I'm going to put my hands in front of this heater as well, trying to frost my fingers. And then we'll get some top coat on. Hopefully it's the right colour. Alright, there we go. They look pretty good for a first dusting, I think. I'm going to give them a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to try and touch that paint just so I get a couple of red spots shown through, just to try and weather it a bit. Yeah, quite happy with how that's gone on. Looks to be a pretty good colour match. It'll dry a little bit darker, I think. So far, I'm happy. Right, I'm going to give it a go. The paint's dried a little bit, so it's not dripping off. Got myself a cotton bud. Just going to touch it in a few places. I've changed for a screwdriver, it's working a little bit better. This feels so wrong. Just in a few places, just to get that red back through. There we go, I'm finished. I'm going to let them dry now. I've got 4 coats on there. I've even just touched in with the belt sander a few tiny little areas all the way down to bare metal, so hopefully they'll corrode a little bit, they'll rust to match the rest of the bike. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm mental, because it feels like it a little bit. Spent most of my life trying to make rusty things perfect, and now I'm taking things that weren't too far off perfect and making them rusty. But I think it's the right choice. It'll look right when it's done, hopefully. Right, I'm going to leave them to dry, and we're going to put on probably tomorrow when they're all nice and dry. Well, here we go. All dry now. Got a nice finish, considering it was just out of a spray can, and I did pretty much no prep to the panel. You can see better how much of a shine we've got there. I think for the overall finish that I was looking to achieve, I think it's worked. You can see the red coming through, which matches the rest of the bike. Colour match wise, can't really fault that. I have offered them up to the bike just now. They do look a little bit brighter than the main frame. I think that's just because of the dirt. It's never been washed. I've had the bike 2.5 years now, and I've never washed it. So I think after a wash it'll match up a little bit better, but the overall finish is what I was hoping for. It isn't perfect. I didn't want perfect. These couple of little bare metal bits. Sorry, the camera's not focusing very well on these. A couple of bare metal bits will pick up some surface rust, which will add to the effect. Well, I think I've done a decent job there. Let's get them put on, huh? Well, there we are. panels fitted on nicely. Just as I mentioned, I think these are just a bit dirty. You can see the whole bike's a bit minging. But it's not a bad colour match. They're a little bit brighter than the rest of the frame, but I think they'll weather in nicely. I'm well happy with how they've turned out. They look a lot neater than they did before. Show you the whole thing. Definitely better than just the primer, huh? Well, there we are. That's another little job ticked off on the old pedal and pop. Another step closer to getting it out on the road. Wasn't strictly necessary, but it does neaten it up, I think. Let me know in the comments what you thought of that. It's not a straightforward paint job. It's definitely felt a bit strange to me, but I'm happy with what I've achieved there, I think. Thanks for joining me. Please do check out some of the other videos on the channel. I've got quite a good rhythm going now. I've got a few playlists to try to keep everything nice and neat on the channel. So if you're into something specific, or if it's the pedal pop or the classic minis, what have you, you can find what you're looking for nice and easy. So please do have a look around. If you like this video, please do give it a like. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back with you soon with some more cool stuff. Thanks for watching.